It's a pleasure to welcome you all to this special invite-only event of CIC. Thank you very much for making time to come here. I know many other things are happening, and I'm so glad all of you made this your priority to be here. It's my privilege to welcome Gaurang Prabhu, the founder of the Govardhan Eco Village at Palghar, Maharashtra, and of course an old friend of CIC, Mr. Annamalai, who's spoken with us before. As we marvel at India's timeless Sanskriti and values merging so beautifully with the contemporary world and becoming a very powerful force, I want to just take a second to remember that when we started the Chennai International Center, we had a very simple goal. We wanted to celebrate the fact that Madras, and I use the word Madras very thoughtfully, was the intellectual capital of South India. And intellectual capital means intellect in every dimension, whether it is science, physics, chemistry, trading, politics, and of course, most importantly, spirituality, where this part of the world has contributed so well. So I think it's great to see two such eminent people here, one in their respective fields. And Gaurang Prabhu, I will not take the thunder away from his introduction, let the introduction do what he's done. But I think today is going to be a very important day, and this Jugalbandi we will see after Gaurang Prabhu speaks, and then your questions come in, will truly remind us of the power of the intellectual achievement that this city was famous for, and I'm sure will be stronger and stronger in the future. So thank you again, Gaurang Prabhu. Thank you, Annamalai, and thank you all for coming here.
I have the privilege to introduce our eminent guests of today. Pujya Shri Gaurang Das Prabhuji has a B.Tech from IIT Bombay. He is a monk, a social innovator, environmental steward, an advocate of sustainability, conscious living, and ethical leadership. He has been honored for his impactful work at the Govardhan Eco Village on international platforms like the United Nations. He is recognized for his influential work in spirituality, sustainability, and conscious living, and is included in the Fortuna Global 100, the Power List 2025, celebrating global leaders shaping the future. A little bit about the Govardhan Eco Village. It's a United Nations World Tourism Organization award-winning eco village community that is accredited by many other UN bodies like the UNEP, UNCCD, UNECOSOC, and UNCBD. He is also UNEP's Faith for Earth Counselor. He is a fellow of the Indian Green Building Council in recognition of his extraordinary contribution to the green building movement. He is also appointed as UN representative to ECOSOC, supporting policy advocacy, multilateral engagement, and strategic partnerships aligned with the SDGs and global development agendas. Pujya Shri Gaurang Das is a member of the ISKCON's apex management body, the Governing Body Commission, GBC. He has a global responsibility for human resource development and capacity building in ISKCON. He strategizes on creating systems and methods to increase competence of ISKCON leadership globally, while fostering a culture of care within ISKCON communities. He also serves as the co-president of the ISKCON Chowpatty Temple. He is the founding board member of Bhaktivedanta University, Vrindavan, and the administrative director for the Bhaktivedanta Research Center, Kolkata. BRC provides opportunities for academic study of philosophy from the perspective of Indian knowledge systems through MA and PhD programs. It is also engaged in preservation of old manuscripts containing ancient Vedic wisdom. He has made notable contributions to global food systems and sustainability efforts. He is the founder of Native Food Matters initiative dedicated to developing conscious food systems. He has served as the co-facilitator for the Food Systems Hunger and Poverty Working Group in C20 Brazil, representing India, and as the co-coordinator of the Food and Life Sub-Working Group during the C20 India 2023 conference. He has recently been appointed as the Governor of the Global Council for Responsible Artificial Intelligence, India chapter, As a renowned chef, he has set up several mega kitchens across India, which have served over 8.5 million meals. During the Mahakumbh Mela event in January-February 2025, in 1 month alone, the team served 5 million meals to the pilgrims. He is also an accomplished author of popular books, The Art of Resilience, The Art of Focus, and The Art of Habits. His recently released book is titled Legacy of Community Building in the Bhakti Tradition, Principles of Community Development from Sri Chaitanya's Philosophy and Life. As a thought leader, he has been a keynote speaker and panelist in various national and international forums to share his views on wide-ranging topics including sustainability, leadership, management, responsible use of technology, and technology for social impact. He is regularly invited for inspirational talks at TEDx, various conferences and corporate events at global companies. He continues to promote spiritual education, mindful leadership, and sustainable living, integrating traditional wisdom with modern technologies. This approach has earned him many international recognitions and awards. It's indeed a privilege to invite Pujya Shri Gauranga Das Prabhuji to address us. Joining him later in the discussion would be Shri K. Annamalai. He is a former Indian Police Service officer of the Karnataka cadre. He is a former Indian Police Service officer of the Karnataka cadre who served the state from 2011 to 2019. During his tenure, he held key positions including Superintendent of Police in Udupi and Chikmagaluru districts, and later Deputy Commissioner of Police in Bengaluru South, where he earned a reputation for firm, ethical policing and direct public engagement. Following his resignation from the Indian Police Service in 2019, he entered public life through politics, joining the Bharatiya Janata Party in 2020. In July 2021, he was appointed President of the BJP Tamil Nadu unit, a role he held until April 2025. His leadership period was marked by energetic grassroots mobilization and a sustained effort to expand the party's organizational footprint in a politically complex state. Beyond his administrative and political roles, Sri Annamalai is widely recognized for his strong spiritual grounding, which informs both his personal discipline and public messaging. He combines this with a distinctive communication style, clear, direct, and often conversational, that has helped him connect with a wide cross-section of people. Notably, his ability to engage young citizens, articulate issues in accessible terms, and project authenticity has contributed to his emergence as a youth icon in Tamil Nadu's contemporary political landscape. Please welcome Sri Annamalai. The format of today's program would be Pujya Shri Gauranga Ji will give an initial talk, after which there would be a small movie about the Eco Village, and following that there will be a conversation between our two guests, and then the floor will be open for question and answers. Thank you very much for being here, and it's again our pleasure in the CIC to welcome such an eminent panel for discussing a really important topic. Thank you very much.
It's timer, sir. Okay. It will start.
Okay. A very good evening to all the assembled guests. First of all, my gratitude to Gopal ji, to Chandramouli ji, and Shri Annamalai ji for gracing, inviting, and facilitating my evening talk here in front of all of you. Special gratitude to my good friend Prabhu Venkatesh, who has been instrumental in introducing me to some of these personalities from South India especially. Today's topic is very, very important. The 4 integral principles for relationships, especially in the modern world. and I'm taking from the perspective and the lens of the Ramayana, as the whole country was very excited about the opening of the Ram temple. But more importantly, all of us need to reconnect with those timeless principles which have powerful impact in all of our lives on a day-to-day basis. There was a very famous research which was conducted by Harvard many years ago, and this was spanning over almost 80 to 90 years. And the topic of this research was, if all of us are looking for happiness in our lives, in our personal lives, in our family lives, what is that one thing which keeps everyone happy? So over various generations, they tracked a cohort of people who went to good colleges, not so good colleges, were very well established financially, could not do well financially, and finally at the end of 80 years when they published the reports, what came out was very striking, that the most powerful principle which keep people happy is not their economic status, not their social status, not their influence in society, not the level of their assets and the property which they have, but the most important principle which keeps people happy is only one word, which is relationships. And this comes from a Harvard research. And many times we think that anything which gets published in some of the established universities in the West must be bona fide. Whereas, if I share with you that these very principles have already been described in great detail in our own classics, in our own Vedic literatures, then many people may question that and wonder, is it really true? So therefore, today I stand before you to share some very basic principles about what exactly these relationship sutras are all about, as described in the Ramayana. The four principles which we are going to speak about are represented by each of the four brothers, Ram, Lakshman, Bharat, and Shatrughna. The first is Lord Ram. Lord Ram represents integrity. The first principle for good relationship is integrity, a harmony between thoughts, words, and actions. Manasyaikam vachasyaikam karmasyaikam mahatmana manasyanya vachasyanya karmasyanya duratmana. When there is a harmony and synergy between thoughts, words, and action, then that exactly is called integrity, and that is something which really gives peace of mind to the heart and the soul. When a person is at peace with oneself, then only he has or she has a solid platform based on which one can establish relationship with others. And therefore, at the very crux and core of harmony, synergy, peace, and satisfaction is this alignment between thoughts, words, and action. Many times people ask me this question, that how come after being in IIT, you landed up becoming a monk? Some people even go to the extent of asking, was there a relationship problem? Was there a heartbreak? Why did you take such an extreme step? So when I was in IIT, one of my classmates was an excellent student, very big topper. And after one of the exam results, he attempted to commit suicide. And this was very shocking for us. When we asked him, why did you try to commit suicide? His answer surprised us even more. And his answer was, in every exam I would get the gold medal. In this exam, I got the silver medal. I am so used to being number one, I could not handle number two position. And I said, wow, that's crazy. People are dying to enter into IIT. You are inside IIT trying to die. Doesn't make sense at all. But he said, what to do? I have such expectation that I should always be number one. I could not handle this. And in the same exam, I had 4 or 5 of my other friends who failed in 4 or 5 subjects, and they were moving around the campus peacefully, blissfully, blessing others also. Don't worry, you will be successful one day. And I asked my friends that you guys are very shameless. You have failed in 4 or 5 subjects, still moving around peacefully. What is your philosophy in life? And they said, our philosophy is simple. Entering college is our job. Taking us out of college is college's job. Why should we take anxiety? That was the moment when it occurred to me that the modern education system is pushing so much on the paradigm of success being getting position, getting possessions, getting power, getting various kinds of things. Whereas there is another paradigm in our own Vedic literatures, which is also education, which is also knowledge, but it is focused on helping people with purpose, principles, and perspective. And that is when I started studying the Bhagavad Gita more deeply, because as all of us are aware, the Bhagavad Gita is one of the first go-to books we approach when we look at spirituality within the Hindu context. And so when I started reading more about the Bhagavad Gita, then I understood that yes, this is unpacking an entire new dimension for me. And that's how I decided to go deeper into this, study these literatures, research on this, and then share it with the contemporary world in a language which people can connect with. Otherwise, most of these literatures are in Sanskrit, and people just feel that maybe it is not relevant for me. I was distributing the Gita in the local trains in Mumbai. I showed it to one gentleman, and he looked at me and he said, "This Gita is for free, no?" I said, "No, why it should be for free? It is for 70 rupees. You have to give 70 rupees for this Gita." He looked at me and said, "Krishna spoke Gita to Arjuna free. Why you are charging 70 rupees? I said, "Sir, sorry. Krishna spoke to Arjuna in Kurukshetra. This is Mumbai. 70 rupees is transport charge." You please try to understand that the message of the Gita, the Ramayana, the Mahabharata has powerful implications in our life. But unless we understand the deepest principles, we don't see the relevance. So in the context of Lord Ram, he represents integrity of the highest order. And how is that? I will just demonstrate. Dasharath Maharaj took a decision that I will retire. And the Ramayana describes that when Dasharath Maharaj saw that he is becoming old, he decided to hand over the kingdom. At that time, Dasharath Maharaj had managed to rule over Ayodhya for almost 60,000 years. The word Ayodhya means a kingdom which cannot be conquered with weapons and army. Ayodhya. And therefore, this principle is very, very important, that what could not be conquered by weapons ultimately got conquered by murmur and rumor. So I mentioned that never take murmur or rumor lightly, because Ayodhya was conquered by murmurs and rumors and not by armor. And so Dasharath Maharaj decided, I will retire. And he called the entire kingdom and he made the announcement, I am going to make Ram the crown prince and I am going to step down. As soon as he announced that, there was a thunderous applause. And such an applause, Dasharath Maharaj himself was bewildered. He called the minister and said, "Hey, what was this applause about?" Minister said, "I will share only when you guarantee that you will not punish me." Dasharath Maharaj said, "Why should I punish you? Tell me what was the applause." The minister said, "My dear king, in last 60,000 years you made so many decisions. Everything was excellent. Everything was great. But the decision you made now to retire and make Ram the king is the best decision of 60,000 years. So when Dasharath heard that, suddenly he became insecure. And he said, "Should I postpone my retirement?" But the minister said, "It is not your fault. You are super excellent. But you made only one mistake." Dasharath said, "What?" And the minister said, "My dear Dasharath, you made the mistake of giving birth to a son with super excellent qualities like Ram. That is the only mistake. Ram has such noble qualities that all the citizens are attracted by them. And therefore we are eager to see him as our next king." So when they presented like this, Dasharath felt better. But then, when Dasharath Maharaj, under force of circumstances, had to tell Ram to go to the forest, he himself told Ram that Kaikeyi is telling me that I should tell you to go to the forest. I am bound by certain vows, so I am telling you, but I am also giving you the freedom not to follow me. You are free not to follow me. You are free to disobey me. I give you that right also. And this is where Lord Ram's integrity is tested. And Lord Ram says, "No, I have manifested here to be the ideal son, the ideal citizen, and hence I want to demonstrate obedience of the highest order. And therefore, my dear father, I will be an obedient son and follow exactly what Kaikeyi has said, and I will go to the forest." Ramante yogino anante satyananda chidatmani iti rama padenasau param brahma vidiyate. Ram basically means an ocean of pleasure. One can experience and manifest pleasure only when there is harmony between one's thoughts, words, and behavior. When there is a disconnect between these three, that is the beginning of anxiety. That is the beginning of chinta. And therefore, in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna describes to Arjuna in the 6th chapter, "Asamshayam mahabaho mano durnigraham chalam abhyasenu tu kaunteya vairagena cha grihyate." My dear Arjun, the mind is very difficult to control, very challenging to control. But with two things you can control the mind: with practice and with detachment. And therefore, today, the education system has to focus on a new paradigm of success, of Vijay. That yes, Vijay is required, success is required, but it has to be on the foundation of 5 things. And the first foundation for Vijay is Vinay, or humility. Amanitvam adambitvam ahimsa kshantirarjavam. When there is Vinay, based on that, a person is open to hear knowledge from all sources which are useful for improvement. That is called vichar. When you are hearing from different sources opinions without putting a filter, that is only possible when there is Vinay. Vichar can enter. Only a cup which has got space you can fill with something, otherwise it will overflow. When there is Vinay and Vichar, Based on all this vichar, you are able to have the right vivek, the discrimination. What to accept, what to reject. What is good for me, what is not good for me. What is good for society, what is not good for society. When there is vinay, vichar and vivek, then you have the power to make a decision and stick to that decision, even though it may be tough. That's called vairagya. Vairagya means renunciation. Ram was tested. Why you want to leave this opulent kingdom? Stay back. I am allowing you to stay back, no problem. But Ram demonstrated vairagya. No, I have to go because it must be done. And when there is vinay, vichar, vivek, vairagya, then one's mind, intellect and chitta is infused with the fifth principle called Vishwas. Vishwas means conviction, confidence, the ability to convert thoughts into reality. And therefore, on the basis of these 5 principles, Lord Ram is demonstrating, create your life on the foundation of integrity. We are sitting in this beautiful hotel. The interiors are beautiful. What is visible to us is the interiors. What we appreciate is the interiors. What meets the eye is the interiors. But what we don't see is the foundation and the structure. There is a foundation, there is a structure, which will be tested when there is an earthquake. In Japan, buildings are able to withstand earthquakes up to 7 to 8 Richter scale also, because they have been designed to withstand earthquakes. And the earthquakes don't come daily. So if you spend more money on a heavier design of structure and foundation, you can't be calling the architect every day and say, hey, today also no earthquake. You made me spend so much. Why there is no earthquake? It is designed for earthquake when it comes. Similarly, most of our material education is designed as the interiors, which is also required. You will not see the power of the spiritual life and the spiritual teachings because they act as the foundation and the structure. When the earthquake hits your life, which is adversity, vipatti, that is the time when you realize that there is something which I need to anchor myself, and that exactly is the foundation we need to withstand those earthquake-like situations. So that's the integrity demonstrated by Ram. And as I see so many very established, respectable members of the society here from Chennai and other places who have been very astute in the education system, it is for you to reflect that let us not think of education only as something as getting degrees just for employment. One of my friends went to a conference and he gave someone a business card. And in that card it was written his name, and below the name was written educational qualification, PhD BF. He said, what is this? What does it mean? He said, PhD but fail. He said, what kind of degree is this? He said, my father wanted me to be PhD. He said, why? Because 2 of my other cousins were PhD. But then when I entered, I couldn't handle. I came out, they told me you have to keep going to conferences. So I made a special card which had the BF, to be honest. But you know what? Most people think the BF is a degree beyond PhD. You are the first one who's asking detail. There is a hotel in Mumbai called Hotel President. So only if you can afford, you can go and eat in the President. But right outside Hotel President, someone set up a samosa and vada stall on a hand cart. You know, hand cart. And he was selling samosa and vada, and he gave the name of his hand cart, Hotel Vice President. And he said, if you can't afford the President, come to Vice President. So Lord Ram represents integrity, means when I am making a choice in my education, in my career, in my whatever social life, is it based on principles of selflessness which will impact everybody positively? That is Lord Ram. And when someone sees such qualities, they develop trust that we can develop relationship with this person. It will be long term. So therefore, integrity is the foundational principle for relationship represented by Ram. Now we come to the second brother, Lakshmana. Sarva priyakarastasya ramasya sharirata Lakshmano Lakshmi sampanna bahir prana ivapara. Lakshman means one who sees and considers Lord Ram to be his external breath. When Lakshman looks at Ram, he thinks, my prana vayu, my shwas vayu is walking. Bahir prana. Lakshmi sampanna bahir prana. Sarva priyakarastasya. He was willing to do everything to please Ram. So what does the word Lakshman mean? Valmiki ji says, Lakshmano Lakshmi Sampanna. Lakshmi Sampanna means one who is endowed with Lakshmi is Lakshman. So question can be asked. For 14 years in the forest, Lakshman was without any Lakshmi. He was poverty stricken. He was wearing only, valkal, the tree barks, and he was not having any of the ornaments. He was not living in palace. He was not having any Lakshmi. Why is he called Lakshman then? Why is he called Lakshmi Sampanna? He was Daridrata Sampanna for 14 years. So the Acharyas are explaining that the real Lakshmi which Lakshman was aspiring for is the opportunity to serve Lord Ram and the Ayodhya Vasis. The opportunity for seva is what Lakshman was constantly searching for. And therefore he is called Lakshmi Sampanna. That is a greatest Lakshmi, greatest wealth. So therefore, many times we think success in life is to get sampatti and to avoid vipatti. If I get prosperity and I avoid adversity, that is success. People feel that is real wealth. But Ramayana is describing that Lakshman is changing that narrative, and Lakshman is demonstrating that real wealth, real Lakshmi is not getting sampatti or avoiding vipatti, but it is the opportunity you get for prapatti, which is for seva, the opportunity to serve. And therefore Lakshman served Ram diligently in the forest, taking a vow to give up even sleep for 14 years because he wanted to serve. So this is very important, because sometimes when we engage in service, we expect results immediately. But we should realize Lakshman had the patience to continue serving. So service attitude means you must have utsahan, which is enthusiasm, nishchayat, determination, dhairyat, patience, without which service cannot be long term. When I joined the ashram in Chowpatty, I was sent to the kitchen to serve. After 1 week of my joining, one more person joined as a monk. He was also sent to the kitchen. So I told him that you are very well built. In the kitchen, we need a lot of seva for making chapatis. So why don't you make chapatis? So he was making chapatis. After 1 week, he came and complained to me. He looked at me and said, "You have not recognized my talent. You don't know who I am." I said, "Who are you?" He said, "I am the most famous speaker in my village. When I stand up and give lecture, whole village stands and claps. I joined ISKCON so that I can become a preacher, a speaker, not to make chapatis. I did not join ISKCON to make chapatis. I looked at him and said, why you are telling me? I am also making chapatis only. After 1 week again he complained. And then after 1 month he took his bags and came to me and said, I am going home. I said, what happened? He said, you don't recognize talent. I joined ISKCON to be a preacher, not to roll chapatis. Bye. He went home. 10 years later, he met me at an event. He came running to me and he said, after I left the temple, I got married. After marriage, my wife got back pain. Every day at home, I am only making chapatis. And he said, maybe it was better to make in temple only. So, many times, the biggest challenge in organizations is people end up making decisions in haste. Whereas Lakshman was provoked many times, but he would always weigh that provocation against how it will impact Ram. And then he would control himself. And many times, when there is provocation, the greatness of a person is estimated by their ability to tolerate provoking situations. And therefore, service attitude means we will be tested repeatedly. Sometimes we may feel, forget it. Who will continue doing this? But one has to continue and control, as Krishna says, Tribidham narakasyedam dwaram nashanam Kamam krodham tatha lobham tasmat etatrayam tajet. My dear Arjun, try to control these 3 enemies within, which are gates to hell: lust, anger, and greed. I was giving a talk to a whole group of prisoners in Yeravada jail, Pune. 500 prisoners were sitting in front of me. I love jail programs. You know why? Because audience is guaranteed. I gave the talk and I said, any questions? One prisoner raised his hand and said, I have a question. I said, ask. He said, I want to come on the stage and ask the question. So I got a little worried. There was the commissioner of police prison standing next to me. I asked him, who's this person? He wants to come on stage. Who's he? And the commissioner whispered in my ear, he has committed 12 murders. I whispered back, am I going to be 13th? He says, no, don't worry, let him come. He came on the stage and asked this question. I gave the answer. Then I took him aside and I said, at such a young age, how could you commit so many murders? And he said, the association I was in was such that I went on the wrong path. And then when anger overwhelms me, it becomes a blackout. I cannot discriminate. But he said, last 1 year, we were asked to translate books in the Braille language in the jail for the visually impaired. And last 2 months, the book which I've been translating into Braille has completely transformed me. I said, what book is that? He said, Bhagavad Gita. And by reading that Bhagavad Gita, I have developed a desire for satsang, good association. We facilitated that satsang right from next week, and over the period of 4 years, almost 200 prisoners were doing meditation and completely transformed their lives. So therefore, dear friends, integrity is the foundation represented by Ram. Service attitude is what takes the mission forward, represented by Lakshman. That's at the core of relationships. The third principle, when the relationship goes through rocky patches, is represented by Bharata. What does Bharata mean? Bharavahi iti Bharata. Bharavahi means one who can carry heavy loads. Bhara. One who can carry heavy loads. What heavy loads are we talking about? The heaviest load which we have to carry emotionally is misunderstanding by people who are closest to us. When people misunderstand us, falsely accuse us, falsely ascribe wrong intentions to our actions and they subject us to character assassination, that is the heaviest load to carry. It is heaviest when it comes from people you trust and you are close with. Bharat was in Kaikeya Pradesh when Kaikeyi sent Ram to the forest. He had actually nothing to do with this. But because he was the beneficiary, whole of Ayodhya thought he is a co-conspirator. Kaushalya thought Bharat is co-conspirator. Bharadwaj Muni thought he is a co-conspirator. Vasishta Rishi thought he is a co-conspirator. Bharat was helpless, clueless, and he is going to offer the last rites to his father's dead body, Dasharath Maharaj. Vasishta Rishi holds his hand and said, Bharat, you cannot do the last rites. Bharat says, my elder brother is in forest. I am the next in hierarchy. As per tradition, I have to do the last rites. He says, sorry. He said, why? Vasishta Rishi says, Bharat, I am sad to say that when Dasharath Maharaj was leaving his body, the last wish which he expressed was, along with Kaikeyi, Bharat is the biggest conspirator. Bharat is the culprit. Bharat has demoniac qualities. Bharat is my greatest enemy. Do not allow even Bharat's shadow to come near my dead body. And Bharat nearly had a heart attack because the person whom he loved and adored the most, his father, departed by cursing him in horrible ways, thinking that he has been party to this conspiracy. And the biggest challenge was, now Dasharath Maharaj is already departed. He cannot clarify. When there is a misunderstanding and someone blocks you on WhatsApp, you have hope that I'll meet him somewhere and then I can clarify. But now there is no clarification possible. The person has departed. He was carrying that load on his head. Therefore it is called Bharavahi, carrying the heavy load. And therefore, dear friends, when Lord Ram told Bharat to lead the kingdom, he would get up at 1:30 in the morning and take bath in Sarayu, because after 2 o'clock, when the Ayodhya Vasis would see Bharat, they were so angry, they will pick up stones and hit him, accusing, here is the person who has sent Ram to the forest. So Bharat had to lead an entire kingdom who misunderstood him, but he did not give up his duty. That's a very important part of relationship, which is called tolerance. So Bharat Maharaj represents tolerance. So Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Matra sparshastu kaunteya shitoshna sukha dukkhada agama apayino anityastanti tikshasva bharata. My dear Arjuna, summer and winter will come and go. Tolerate, which is very important. Tolerance, as per Gita, is to call off the war on reality. Certain situations we just cannot fight. We have to accept it, acknowledge it, align our desires with the reality. There is no other way. And Bharat represented that. Today, one of the most important institutions is family. If the family as an institution does not survive, the entire fabric of society will break apart. I was giving a talk in a college in America, and a young student walked up to me and started speaking in Hindi. I looked at him and said, you are speaking Hindi, you look American. Are you American or Indian? He said, I'm American. When I grew up in a multimillionaire family, I told my dad at the age of 17, you gave me everything in life, Dad, except the experience of family, because when I was 2 years old, you were divorced. Today, a country like Luxembourg has 88% divorce rate, Spain has 65% divorce rate, France has 55% divorce rate, Russia has 51% divorce rate, America has 46% divorce rate, global divorce rate is 44%. India still has the lowest divorce rate in the world at 1% only. And I must add, as of today. And his father bought him a ticket to Bharat. He came to a city went to a place which showed paying guests accepted. He went to one family and he said, allow me to be in your family as a paying guest just for 2 years to experience what is family. The emotional warmth between family members, just sitting together and eating food together. I want to experience what is love of a family. Only for 2 years, if you allow me to experience family as a paying guest, every month I will give a rent of 1 lakh rupees. That family said, why 2 years? Stay whole life. And they said, if you have other friends also who want to experience, we can open one more room. Goldman Sachs came with a report that between 2015 to 2025, the infrastructure investment required in Bharat would be up to $1.4 trillion. Out of that, $800 billion would come from family savings. If there is no family feeling, why there will be family savings? So many times we think that corporate is the biggest contributor to the savings ecosystem, but little do we realize that one of the biggest contributors to the economy is the humble housewife sitting at home, who through her keeping the house together and the family together is actually maintaining such a very important institution. Therefore, tolerance is at the very foundational level. If we don't tolerate, we cannot come together and do anything, either in family or in organization or any kind of project. So Bharat represents tolerance and Shatrugna represents humility. Shatrugna nitya shatrugna nitah priti puraskrita. Shatrugna was always serving Bharat. The whole kingdom was glorifying Ram. The whole kingdom was accusing Bharat. It was very tough for Shatrugna to continuously express his loyalty towards Bharat. When the whole world is against you, to be socially disconnected is not easy. But Shatrugna continued serving Bharat. Shatrugna nitya shatrugna nitah priti puraskrita. Bharat could just take Shatrugna anywhere the way he wanted. He had so much confidence. Why? No false ego. He was free from ego. Therefore, he was humble. When there is humility, then only we can survive relationships. Without the foundation of humility, we cannot do anything. So therefore, dear friends, I just wanted to summarize that the 4 relationship sutras as described in the Ramayana, beautifully encapsulated by the brilliant character in 24,000 shlokas of Valmiki Ramayana. Ram representing integrity, Lakshman representing service attitude, Bharat representing tolerance, and Shatrugna representing humility. All of these characters, through their amazing personalities, interactions, and pastimes, act as a beacon light for all of us to take few drops from their oceanic qualities, apply, implement, internalize in our lives, in our personal lives, in our family lives, in our professional lives, in lives to impact society, so that we can improve ourselves, our family situation, our organizations functioning. We can improve the functioning of society in Bharat, and globally, in a conflict-ridden world, we can add value just by imbibing some of these beautiful qualities as described in the great literature, Sri Ramayana. Thank you very much for giving me this platform. Have the small video, and then we will have our interaction.
Govardhan Eco Village is about 2.5 hours northeast of Mumbai in a very beautiful rural village area of Maharashtra. There's a very holy place in India which is considered most sacred to devotees of Krishna. It's called Vrindavan. And in that Vrindavan is a mountain named Govardhan, which represents environmental, ecological harmony with spiritual principles.
This place is very special. Certainly it's unique in India and perhaps unique in the whole world. It's like a retreat center. It's like a spa. It's like an ashram. It's a place that's designed as an experiment to merge environmentalism, animal rights, and bhakti, spirituality, together, and it's working.
Come dance with me.
The amenities here are of a whole nother caliber. People, when they think of the words India and ashram, they think of harsh and rough living. From the Ayurvedic clinic, which not only gives treatments, but also has an Ayurvedic doctor who helps prescribe something that is specific for your dosha. The atmosphere that is created by the founder, Radhanath Swami Maharaj, and the atmosphere that is created by the devotees who work here is palpable. You can feel it in the air.
Originally, I was from Chicago. When I was 19 years old in 1970, I wanted to try to broaden my outlook of life. So I went on a journey. Ultimately, I hitchhiked from London to the Himalayas in India. And as I was traveling, I came to realize that the real social and environmental problems of the world are due to a spiritual crisis. A crisis in what we consider is actually meaningful and fulfilling in our life.
Radhanath Swami is a passionate person. The best passion is compassion, and he has an ample amount of that. And that type of passion is contagious.
Coming here and helping to, doing the seva, the service, helping with the cows, helping with to weave mats, helping with make pottery. It's actually fun. It's very simple lifestyle, and I think a lot of us crave that on different levels.
And it's sort of programmed into our culture that you look for recognition, you need it. For me, being here, I see it's far more powerful to be humble.
It was easy to complain about the tiny inconveniences that come with a New York City apartment. Oh, it's not big enough. Oh, the water pressure isn't great enough. When you live in a house that you see built from the ground up, every step along the way, it's very special.
When people come here, we're trying to inspire an educational, experiential alternative of a fulfilling, meaningful, sustainable, healthy life.
Apart from these jasmine flowers which you're seeing, he grows a lot of these ladyfingers, okra. Yeah. So we network with all these farmers so that we purchase them in our kitchen and use them.
Can we get this to the kitchen? We can give them to the,
And the inspiration of this project, Srila Prabhupada, he called this transformation simple living and high thinking.
We get 3,000 millimeters of rain annually. So the rainwater hits against those mountains, the Sahyadri mountain ranges, and flows down and collects here. And it is sufficient water for us to irrigate our fields for up to 6 to 7 months every year. The majority of India's population, which is 1.2 billion, lives in the villages. So one of the very important requirements to develop a village is how can water be conserved.
The process begins here. As you can see, the raw sewage is falling and there are some screens. The first chamber is called screen chamber, where we are trying to separate floating solids. This is the raw water where we began, and this is the treated water.
The uniqueness of this place comes from the fact that every waste is becoming a precious resource. That cow dung becomes a fertilizer for earth. He needs fire or energy for cooking his food, and therefore all of the cow dung we utilize for biogas plant. We need to make houses, so we use the same earth, and we have created 250,000 bricks. We call this a symbiotic recycling model. Flushing your toilet, you are contributing to the growth of a papaya. You are contributing to the growth of flowers.
One of the greatest management gurus says that the greatest management challenge of the 21st century is managing oneself.
Many corporate heads are having seminars and retreats here. And they also see alternative ways by which they could focus their own corporations and feel a real sense of responsibility to humanity.
The thing I'm most compelled to do when I get home is really a seva. It's service. It gets us out of being so self-absorbed.
I always had too much. And now I want to have a simple life, like here. I love simple life, and my goal is to make a simple life in my home.
And if we just refocus our energies with these values, we could transform the world.
Every step that I take, you dance with me.
It's truly a miraculous, magical place on this planet.
Hello. Yeah. So I want to begin by offering Mahaprasad from Radha Madan Mohan Temple of ISKCON's Govardhan Eco Village to Shri Annamalai ji before we begin our conversation.
Swamiji, it's a great pleasure to listen to you, and you have shared your wonderful thoughts. And many of us, we keep seeing you in YouTube videos. We keep many times wondering, a monk who is able to communicate very realistically, connect to people, different sections of people, a businessman or a civil servant or a farmer. Thank you so much for keeping inspiring us, Swamiji. That is very important. This modern age and time, we live in a world of negativity. We are surrounded by a lot of negative things. But every time we listen to you, we all have a sense of optimism and hope. And today we all had the privilege of seeing you in person.
Swamiji, I would like to keep this interaction a freewheeling conversation, because many of the eminent people keep seeing you in multiple avatars. We keep listening to your speeches. So I wanted to go slightly off track and get into certain topics that might interest all the audience here. Swamiji, this is a great country. Bharat is a great country, and if somebody has to define this land, we define this land as a land of seekers. We all keep seeking things. But of late, I don't think that is happening, at least in my generation, maybe the previous generation. We don't seek things. We take knowledge for granted. And introspection has gone for a toss. We don't introspect much. And we just live our life, how the life presents to us. And you also mentioned where there's an opportunity, there is also a crisis. Next 20, 30 years, we don't manage these things well. Huge population, 140 crore to 165 crore. And if you don't have this introspection, with introspection comes humility, introspection comes a lot of qualities that you mentioned. So what are your thoughts, Swamiji, the present generation? How introspective should we become? It is a very fast-tracked world. To pull it back, how do you see that, Swamiji?
Thank you very much, Annamalaji, and I want to first of all acknowledge the amazing life's journey you have undertaken by taking a path which is filled with risk because you had the conviction to do something which would benefit society. So first of all, a round of applause for what you have done. It's a brilliant question, and I want to give the context in terms of the 4 cardinal principles of Vedic Sanatan Dharma, which is Dharma, Artha, Kama, and Moksha. So you very aptly mentioned that we are a land of seekers. So Moksha was a very important part of our lexicon and dictionary. Dharma was the foundation. So the house has a foundation, it has a roof. So Vedic Sanatan Dharma always had Dharma and the roof as the moksha, and in between was Artha and Kama. But the generation of the 60s and 70s, because of serious financial crisis and lack of facilities, focused on Artha and Kama. And that generation, because they focused on Artha and Kama, finally India is poised to become the 3rd largest economy very soon. So we can say that that generation has been successful. Just as an example, 76 million Indians have emigrated from India out of Bharat from 1990 to 2020. In America alone, so today there are 36 million globally as we speak. In America alone, 22 of the top Fortune 500 companies are led by Indian CEOs. They employ 2.7 million people for a net turnover of $1 trillion. So now, 50% of the motels in America are owned by Indians. So therefore, financially and facility-wise, so the focus was on finance and facility. If you look at it, we have achieved it. In that process, there has been a little neglect of dharma and moksha. So dharma and moksha has gone out of our conversation compared to what the previous generations were having. Therefore, I think from my perspective, 33 years ago, I joined ISKCON so that I can spread more the message of dharma and explain about moksha and help people integrate their artha and kama with the two. But we as individuals have limitations because we are dealing with Shastra. But you as a public figure now have a major responsibility that the Gita Krishna says has been spoken for those who are actually the administrators. Because Shastra is scripture. Shasan is administration. Shishya is to follow. And when nothing works, Shastra, which is weapons. So all this comes from one word, Shas, which is to rule, which is to control. Therefore, I think with the new education policy 2020, doors have opened for changes in the education system. And I think with influencers like yourself and others who are engaging in the public discourse at a deeper level with people on a regular basis, people who are following how the policies are changing, how the policies are impacting. And I think at the policy level, many things can be changed to integrate this in a way which can have long-term impact. And therefore, we are all setting the blueprint for it by sharing how that ancient message is relevant. But it is now up to all of you to take it to the deeper level so that the last mile impact can be created. And within the education system, it can be embedded. So the ball is in your court.
It starts with education, Swamiji. A lot of emphasis on primary education.
Absolutely.
And it is also interesting, Swamiji has come to Chennai and spoken from Ramayana. And this is a land where sometimes Ramayana is misunderstood here in the political landscape that we all belong to. And Ram Rajya is really misunderstood here, Swamiji. Just the other day, there was a politician from a party. He said, why Ram Rajya is needed in a state like Tamil Nadu? None of us have seen Rama, and none of us lived in Rama's age. And this Ram Rajya is a very misunderstood word by many politicians now, Swamiji. Because in my humble opinion, at one point of time when we said the king was great, people looked up to the king, the people were great. Now, the politicians come among the people. And there is a value disorientation in the society as a whole. So how do you see Ram Rajya with current people? Do you see a foreseeable future? Because you look at change from Panchayat to MLAs to MPs, a multiple systemic level changes to bring that kind of a governance model to the present day working. How do you see that, Swamiji? First, what is your definition of Ram Rajya and how do you see it happening?
I'll define Ram Rajya, but how to bring systemic change, I'll want to hear from you. What do you say? You agree or not? Okay, so Ram Rajya means 4 things as per Ramayana. First is Shastra, which is scripture, because Dasharath was there, but along with Dasharatha, Vasishta Muni was always there. So when there is Shastra as the basis, second, the king, Dasharath Maharaj, was always willing to be the Shishya. So in that context, Ramayana gives great description about an entire council of ministers and how Dasharath could not make unilateral decisions. So he would always defer to deep wisdom, which is decision making by consensus, by counsel, by referrals. So that's the second, when there is Shastra and Shishya. The third principle of Ram Rajya is Samaj, which is, all the society elements taking their inputs, hearing from them, understanding what their needs, and that's what Lord Ram personally demonstrated even after coming back. He was hearing feedback. So there was a feedback loop, and Ram would take that feedback seriously, even though it may come from somebody who may not have mattered in terms of influence and power, but keeping the ears open. And fourth is, when there are sadhus like Vasishta, Dasharath Maharaj would allow Vasishta and others to guide and make policies. So when there is Shastra, there is sadhus, there is Shishya, and there is Samaj, all 4 principles put together in synergy, in harmony, then only Ram Rajya as described in Ramayana moves forward. And therefore Valmiki Ramayana unpacks this in very fascinating ways. But it all revolves around a core principle, which is the 5th principle, that it all begins with the ideal character of the king himself. And therefore Lord Ram went to great extents, sometimes some people may say extremes, to show how he is wanting to preserve the integrity as a leader. So these are some elements as described in Ramayana. Now how do we bring the context of Ramayana and Ram Rajya in today's day and age is, I think, something which you, being deeply connected in society, in the police, in the administration, and now in the political domain, working with people at all levels, especially in this part of the country, I think we would like to hear from you.
Thank you, Swamiji. We have some former ministers sitting here, some eminent people. I'll try to make an attempt. People have lived through political lives here. Swamiji, I would say, for me, a great example is Nelson Mandela as a person. I would like to take some attributes from there and connect how things can change. Things will change in the future. Mandela, Swamiji, we all know, even a cursory glance, he went to prison at the age of 42. 1960-62 he went. Came out after 27 years, which is 42 years he went inside the prison, plus 27 you add, 69th year he came out. And you're looking at a person who must have come out as a very angry man, 18 years of solitary confinement, 27 years in total. A country dominated by whites, did not give them voting rights. But when he came out in the late 1980s, and what he did 4 years before the election is the crux of our politicians should be, Swamiji, in this modern times. Extreme tolerance to what happened. Because when you sit in that level as a politician, maybe in power, you are dealing with multiple competing groups. Every pressure group will think they are right. Everybody will think they are right. Every caste group will think they are right. Every class will think they are right. So I would say extreme tolerance to sit in that level and to get into everybody's shoes, try to understand from what point of view people speak. And Mandela did it for 4 years. He got into the shoes of white, he got into the shoes of black, sat with them, understood, tried to give them a hope that together they can build a rainbow nation. The second greatest quality which I see, which I think the present, because we can only talk about attributes and quality which an aspiring politician can pick up, practice as a virtue, because I always believe many virtues, even if not born into, by practice we can get it over a point of time. Extreme humility. When he went for a state visit to China, the story is, when he went out of his room, when he came back in the evening after a state dinner, the person who was supposed to take care of the room waited outside and said, "I'm so sorry." When he walked into the room, everything was in perfect order. You kept the pillows in the correct position. You kept the sheets in the correct position. I felt my service is not to your liking or standard. That is why you did everything on your own. So I'm here to apologize to you. And Mandela said, "I'm so sorry. It is not that I wanted to offend you. But living in a prison for 27 years, everything I did, cleaning the toilet to making up the bed. So it is my habit, even as a president of a country, to do everything on my own." Because the quality that everywhere he went, an emperor to a British queen, to a person cleaning that room, every single person, he always gave this quality that is a humble person. A politician, the problem is people don't listen much. And they live in high pedestal. They think they're always great. They think that they always know the public feedback, and nobody wants to listen. And this humility, the broken families, nuclear families, grandfathers don't live, a child is born into that family, he aspires a public career, he comes out after 20-25 years. And that creates a system where people don't have tolerance much. For 5 people in a family in a small apartment, if people can't tolerate that in a politics, how will you tolerate 1 crore or even your 12 lakh people who vote for you? And these two qualities, Swamiji, I personally believe, tolerance and humility. And as a practice, when people practice it over years, and every time they keep themselves in check. They get angry, they tolerate it. They tell people that, look, I have to listen. My job is to listen. My job is to convince. My job is to take people along. And this quality, if you repeatedly start putting into young minds, and there is a political organization also, big political parties, established political parties, when they get good talent inside, it is the ability of the party to groom them at multiple levels, position them at panchayats, position them as assembly candidates or parliamentary members. I think if a political party has got that vision, is able to groom fine talents into the system, do it as a habit for 10-20 years, I see change possible, Swamiji, where people will connect to politicians.
Excellent.
They connect to it. Because right now, you see the youngsters, wherever neighboring countries or across the world, the youngsters just want to vote out any politician who's in power. In Tamil Nadu, I've seen this election probably day after tomorrow, the results will show which way it is swinging. They just want to come out and vote. Because you talk to a youngster below 30 years of age, the first thing they say, I don't trust people. I don't trust anybody wearing a white shirt or a white dhoti, because there is a disconnect in the society to the current set of politicians. And people born after 90s or maybe 2000s, I see a severe disconnect, Swamiji. That is a dangerous sign in a democracy. One, the mistake, politicians not able to connect to young people, and young people not willing to open their minds and see politicians the way they are supposed to see a public servant. This disconnect is creating dangerous ripples across the world. Even in Tamil Nadu, it might do so on May 4. So I hope and pray that consciously, as an organization, as senior political leaders here, the best way for them to give back is groom 10 people, groom 15 people, groom 20 people. Give time every week, like how you do for Bhagavad Gita to mentoring classes. Start mentoring young people. I think if it is able to, we are able to do it, Swamiji, I see a good future, Swamiji.
Thank you. That's an excellent answer. And I want to just reflect on what you just said. And I have my friend here, Prabhu Venkatesh. You can just stand up so that everyone sees you. He's a good friend. So Prabhu Venkatesh is connected to me for many years. And he was regular, like our ISKCON devotee in practicing
with
Gita.
Your permission, Swamiji, very sorry. And Prabhu Venkatesh was previously a member of our political party. One day he came to our office. He said, Anna, from tomorrow I am not going to give more time in politics. I am going to immerse myself in seva. I said, have you thought through it? And an active member of the political party having a role, he said, I'm going to do full service to ISKCON. And I'm going to relocate my base, move out of Coimbatore, move to a different city. And I thought through it, and my life is all about seva. And very good to see, Swamiji, that you're acknowledging him, because I'm also seeing him after a year and a half now. And good to see him. It's politics lost that he has decided to come to ISKCON, and ISKCON's gain to be a food soldier volunteer.
So that time, this is 2016, and then he said, I think I want to get connected to politics because his grandfather, Sri Narayana Swamiji, is a very well-known freedom fighter from Coimbatore. But many ISKCON devotees were telling him that, no, politics is not for good people, so don't join. So he asked me what to do. I said, if you don't go out in politics there, you will do politics in ISKCON. So you better try it out there and see what you can experience. So I'm happy to share that, he ventured out and connected with people like him. And he's still quite actively involved in some different roles. But I would say that that was a very important moment where he needed someone to move him in that direction. And in my own case, when I decided to, from IIT at the age of 22, decided to join, it was initially quite a shock for my family. And I have my roots from South India. I'm from Palakkad, and most of my family are here in Chennai. So many of my family members are here. Can you raise your hands here? So this is a whole family lobby which is sitting. Give a round of applause to all of them. So I must acknowledge that the family was very supportive, because if you don't get support of the family, you cannot actually embark on your journey. So I'm very grateful to them for supporting and acknowledging. So if all of you feel any value in what I'm doing, a large part of that goes to their blessings and their support also. So I want to come back to you, that you were a very established IPS officer, and somewhere in the internet, and people told me you were known as the Singham of Karnataka and things like that. So in that context, when you decided to make a shift, so what was that journey? What was that which inspired you to make the shift, and what were some of the reactions of the people close to you?
Swamiji, we also have some legendary police officers here who have served us with a lot of dignity, and it's a privilege to talk in front of them. Swamiji, my career was very short. It's about 9.5 years in the Indian Police Service. 2016, there was an incident, Swamiji, just you mentioned about the IIT incident. And I was the superintendent of police of a district. There was a rape and murder of a 10th standard student. 8:30, the local SHO called and told me that the girl is missing. I said, keep searching. At 11:30, he told me the body is found. From my home, it is 2 hours away. From the SP's residence, I started moving towards that area. By 1:32, I reached there. Heavy rains, some 2,000, 3,000 people fully there. The body is inside. We have to take the body out. And they were starting to pelt stones on the police vehicle. With a lot of control, we have to go inside, not do anything extra to kind of precipitate the situation more, take the body out because important forensic evidence is in the body. And when we brought it out, when it went for post-mortem and all kinds of forensic investigation, we were doing it. On the way back home, I started reflecting on why this happened, Swamiji. Innocent girl, no fault of her own, wrong time, wrong place, 10th standard girl. And when I found out, the school had 4 computers, and it was rationing system in the Western Ghats area in a small village, government school. And her chance came at 6:30, the last person to operate that computer. The principal was there, she was there, but 2 people who were supposed to accompany the girls, 5:30 slot, they went before. So she finished her computer class in the classroom. She started walking 3.5 kilometers to her home. Under the pitch dark, rains, cloudy, going all alone, 2-3 culprits saw her, saw the opportunity, did this act. The first mistake I felt is, okay, there is a crime, there is a criminal, it happened. But if I go beyond it, there is a circumstance that made the criminal to act. If I go one step below, again, there is a system problem that made the circumstance to happen. If I go one step below again, there is a bus that was not going. The school is supposed to have 15 computers at 5. The girls had it at 6:30. This question, for the very first time in my policing career, I started questioning a lot of things. So what is the crime? What is the manifestation of a crime? Why it is happening? At what level we are trying to solve it? Maybe this questioning got deeper and deeper and deeper. 2018, I had the opportunity to take a Kailash pilgrimage. I always wanted to come out and do something in the grassroots, start maybe get into education, focus on getting the right person, not get into this kind of kids who don't study, broken families, come out, commit this kind of crimes. But never had the courage to act on it, Swamiji. Always was like postponing it. I come from a very first generation family, father 10th standard, mother 8th standard, in a small village. And I can't even think about quitting a service like IPS. I cannot even think because I can't go back to my village. I can't go and do farming again. And the whole thing in the last 40 years of my life, my parents doing their best to push me out of village. They say, study hard and get out of this village. Don't even come back. Get a better life. And me trying to kind of reinvent the wheel, trying to go back to the village is simply not possible in their mind. But never had the courage to act. So Kailash pilgrimage, at luck happened, Swamiji, the last pilgrimage Government of India had, 2019, pre-COVID. So I was the liaison officer of a batch 13. And it was the longest batch in Kailash Mansarovar's history. We took 56 days to complete the whole yatra. While going, there was a terrible flood in Guji village, got problem, telecommunication. So there was a time when we had to ration food to all the 50, 60 people we took along with us. Helicopters was not coming in, food was not coming in, communication cut off. First time in my life, Swamiji, I was living in a place almost 20-25 days where I could meet only the 50 people. Where as a liaison officer, my duty is to take care of the 50 people. Mothers are crying, children left back home, no communication. A pilgrimage supposed to take 23 days is taking 56 days. Visa got over, again had to come back and get the visa done. The whole process, Swamiji, maybe it took me back to my original being, as a human being, very original being, not ego, not thinking of power dimension, not thinking of those things. When I started questioning what I have to do, the answer was very clear. Just do what is right, what you think gives you happiness. When you mentioned about thoughts, words, in Tamil I keep telling, every time I pray to a God, I ask only one thing. Dear God, always make sure my ennam sol sayal, my thinking, my words and my action is in one alignment, that's it. As long as it is happening, things will happen. Even right or wrong things you do, we accept it. Ennam sol sayal. I got into a stage where my ennam sol sayal was not in consonance, not in an alignment. So that pilgrimage with 23 days of, 56 days of total thing and 23 days of disconnectivity, it gave me that zone to think very clearly. I just came out and quit and walked out, Swamiji. And I've never thought about convincing the parents, I felt these three things are in alignment. Then politics happened second, Swamiji. It is not that I planned to get into politics. I started a foundation called We the Leaders, again from the village, ran it for a year. Volunteers, get into colleges, get into schools, get into basic education, get them to go out and get a job, work with broken family kids, get into organic farming. So politics happened later, Swamiji. So even now, I take a lot of pride in calling me as a chief servant of We the Leaders Foundation. So we do a lot of quality work at the grassroots level to fix human beings at a fundamental level. And now we all know politics is something that can only happen, Swamiji. You can keep doing what you have to do, and things will happen at one point of time. It is like a critical mass. Just like that nuclear reaction, it cannot happen tomorrow. You keep doing it. When the critical mass happens, the explosion will happen. So I hope and pray that whatever me and other people sitting in this room, a lot of us do it, to have a general vision of good politics for our state. It will happen one day. But like you said, not to get impatient, have the tolerance and humility to go there. But to answer it in one word is to answer that simple question of why that girl died. Now in my own humble way, Swamiji, I instituted a scholarship in that same school. And we brought computers. Even now I work with that school. And that since they studied 10th standard, the first girl who comes in that school, me and a group of friends, we sponsor her education, complete education after that from that government school. Because this, I believe, is my closure. As an SP, the question that was gnawing me, should I have put more patrol vehicles? Should my sub-inspector be more smarter? Should you have put more CCTV? Should you have taken more rowdy registers and checked? Even, I think that is a dangerous thing for a policeman. You start getting into this moral angle as a policeman, I don't think you can do your job very efficiently, Swamiji. This is my thing, but we have legendary officers who have served with a lot of conviction for 30, 40 years. And now, I would say that I'm not at a happy or not at a sad place, but as long as all these three things are aligned, Ennam, Soul, Sayal, every day is a joy. You learn, you move to the next day, you learn, move to the next day. That's how I live my life, Swamiji.
Thank you so much. That's really beautiful to hear. And, I want to reflect back on what you just said about how important it is for us to live as per our inner calling. And that's what I see from your story, that there was this inner calling and you had the conviction to live as per the inner calling. And I think when you began our conversation, you mentioned about how India is losing its DNA of being seekers. And I remember that when we speak about seeking, there will always be obstacles and challenges. And India has always shown the path that no matter what degree of obstacles come, somehow or the other, like the Mother Ganga river, you have to find its way. Mother Ganga keeps finding her way across rocks in her journey to the Bay of Bengal. And I think that's been a very powerful DNA of this land, where people with all the challenges, obstacles, difficulties may be helpless, but they never become hopeless. And that's one thing what spirituality brings to the table, helping people in helpless situation maintain their hope. I was traveling to IIT Kharagpur for an event with two of my friends from America. Our flight landed in Kolkata. When I came out, they told me that it is the Bengal Bandh that day. So we were welcomed with garlands and we were told Bengal Bandh. So I told my friends who had come to pick me up, who were the organizers, so today is Bengal Bandh, so program must be cancelled. They said, no, program is on. I said, Bengal Bandh, cars cannot move. How can we go to the 3 hours journey? They said, we have come to pick you up in ambulance. So that is what is called out-of-box thinking. So when we were entering ambulance, my two American friends asked me, why are we entering ambulance? I said, good question, but answer will take half an hour, because I have to explain what is bandh to you. So I said, you sit behind, I will sit in front. When we went ahead, people stopped us and said, we want to check who's behind. And I said, go and check. So they started looking inside, and my two American friends with garlands around their neck after taking breakfast were sleeping peacefully. These guys looked inside and said, may their souls rest in peace. And we reached Kharagpur within 3 hours. So as I was reflecting on your life's journey, I was thinking that this has been the greatest strength of our country, that people have always been inspired, not by the intention of fear, not by the intention of desire, but by the intention of kartavya, duty, and the intention of love, because every relationship has 4 challenges. Every relationship has scarcity, impediment, discomfort, unhappiness. Scarcity, impediment, discomfort, unhappiness. Still the relationship continues, either in family or with friends, in social circle, in organizations, in employment, as you said, with tolerance and humility. Then only something notable gets done in the long run. And Bharat's story has always been that. And therefore I think that here in Tamil Nadu, with all of you making major contributions, it's a very, very important dimension, because Tamil Nadu has been the state with the largest number of temples, because I have been in the temple ecosystem for now 33 years. So that state which has the maximum number of temples is Tamil Nadu. So you are kind of the spiritual torchbearer for the whole country in one sense. So therefore it's a major responsibility for all of you. And I'm very grateful for hearing your story firsthand from you. And I think it's now we will allow our audience to also share their reflections and their questions, and want to acknowledge my dear friend Mr. Gange Amaranji, who's come all the way for hearing our conversation. We got introduced just a few days back in Coimbatore, and I invited him for today. So, Srinivasan sir, Gopalji, what's the way forward?
My question is actually to both of you. There must have been many times when you wanted something to happen very deeply, for whatever reason, and it wouldn't have happened. In those kind of times, what are specific things that you do to give you the courage to move on and still hope and make things happen? Very, very, and I'm asking for very basic things.
Yeah. Thank you. Sir, you can start. You begin.
Sir, I think the master is sitting here, but my life and my perspective is a very short life and small life, sir. I keep certain anchors in my life. For me, the anchoring is my system in my village farm. I run a small farm and with cows and sheep and cattle. And I go back there every time, stay rooted for some time. Even now I spend quite a lot of time there. And it's a small world I've created for myself to get into that bubble and feel safe and be comfortable in that. And many times it doesn't happen your way, but with a little bit of time, maybe then you are very angry, you are very anxious, and you get all kinds of emotions. And with time, 6 months back when I look at it, I see what has happened is the good thing that has happened, at least for me, at least for a lot of people. But I'm also immature, and I'm growing, I'm learning. At that point of time, I feel so angry, so frustrated. It has happened multiple times. Maybe last week also it happened. But every time I go back to that form, because that is my way of detaching, my way of getting anchoring on one part. And just saying that I can't control this, but maybe 6 months later I'll know why it happened. And this is my small world I've created. I would urge a lot of people, when youngsters, when they meet me, political colleagues also, I tell them, create a small safe world. Maybe a seva, maybe an NGO, maybe something that you're very passionate about. Because we all have a life, either a business or politics or whatever it is. But unless we don't create that world, full time we do keep doing this, keep getting frustrated with what is happening, keep getting too much attached to things here, then we start getting into that frustration cycle, is my humble thought, sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That's a very, he wanted to hear that perspective. So I'll just add a small part that, what Annamalai sir just mentioned is what actually the ancient wisdom of Bharat was supposed to give to people, perspective. And most people, because they do not understand what Bharat really stands for, across states, across languages, across diversities, ultimately there is a deep wisdom which connects this country through cultures. And the wisdom is all centered about finding your purpose and principles, as he just mentioned. Otherwise, you'll just get confused by externals, and diversity can confuse you. Like a German traveler comes to Mumbai and visits the Udupi restaurant. First time he's coming to India, And those days in Bombay, they used to serve out on banana leaf, even in the Udupi restaurant. So he ate idli, dosa, vada, everything. And he didn't know what to do with the banana leaf, started eating that also. So on the way out, the manager asked him, the German traveler, how was the food, sir? The traveler said, food was good, the salad was very stiff. So when people say, I can't understand India, it is so diverse, so complex. Actually, the real DNA of Bharat lies in its commonality that across the length and breadth we are all connected through finding purpose and principles through the wisdom by which we can adjust our perspectives when faced with any problem. So I also mentioned there is a difference between problem and calamity. Problem can be solved using intelligence. Calamity needs to be tolerated. And you need that strength to tolerate, the perspective to tolerate. Therefore, sun failing in 10th standard is a problem. Losing the son in a car accident is a calamity. So therefore, material education trains us for problem, spiritual education trains us for calamity. So here we are both sitting on the stage. Thank you.
My question to Sri Govardhan Prabhuji, what lessons would you draw, what qualities would you draw out of the life of Krishna as portrayed in the Bhagavad Purana?
Thank you. Krishna in the Bhagavad Purana represents the embodiment of love. And therefore he is known as Purna Purushottama, where he is demonstrating Rasaraja. In all different rasas, he is active. So therefore Krishna, right from his childhood till he ends his pastime, demonstrates that the most important thing through his birth, he demonstrates, is Vasudeva lost 6 sons. Then Krishna was born as the 8th son. But still, Vasudeva did not give up. So therefore, Krishna is demonstrating through Vasudeva that you may be helpless in life. But the message of Janmashtami is, Krishna only appears when in spite of being helpless, you do not become hopeless. And therefore, Krishna acknowledges and reciprocates with those who continue with determination, dedication, and total devotion to their service. And I think, these are some of the brilliant things we just heard from Annamalai sir also. So the principles are demonstrated by Krishna in the Bhagavad Puran, and we need to imbibe it in our own lives, and then life will become transformative. Thank you.
Gaurangada, this question is on the 4 characters based on which you were drawing these 4 principles. Are we overdoing the Bharat Act in India currently? This idea of tolerance, whatever not right things happen, you still tolerate. Should we actually have created a counter character for Bharat? Where, he knows that it's unfair, but he still puts one chapel and then sits on it and rules the country 14 years. Rather than blasting away this dharmic to-do of this is what is done, father has said something, I need to do this. But the same father goes and tells him, don't come anywhere near me at the end of it. See, this whole unrest that he is talking about, the Gen Z disconnect or whatever, is it all somewhere based on this excessive internalizing of tolerance as a basic fundamental thing? Whatever you see as not right, you still live with this. Whether it's in the case of a political person, for instance. If he sees injustice, he will still need to tolerate, because somewhere we've internalized that keep tolerating. Would you actually like to explain to me what you meant, that these 4 things are important, tolerance especially important, even in the light of something undharmic happening, are we supposed to still tolerate?
Thank you so much. Your name?
Pandirajan is my
Okay,
name.
thank you so much. And we will answer together, because based on our duties, I represent tolerance, he's supposed to represent intolerance. Because as a police officer, he has been trained to fight against injustice. And that's what Krishna told Arjuna. Because Arjuna started giving lecture to Krishna on tolerance on the battlefield. And Krishna said, hey, what is this? You have been trained to fight, and you are giving lecture and discourse on tolerance. And why Arjuna began speaking on tolerance? When he saw Duryodhan, he said, I am ready. Then suddenly Krishna brought his chariot in front of Bhishma. Arjuna looked at Bhishma and said, oh, he is grandfather. How can I kill him? I have to love him. And then he saw Bhishma, saw Dronacharya. So that is my teacher. I am supposed to respect him. Arjuna got confused. So he started giving lecture on tolerance. Krishna said, no, I want you to fight. Fight against adharma. Kurukshetra is the operation theatre. Human society is the patient. Duryodhan and Dushasan and company is the tumor. I am the surgeon. You become surgical instrument. Let us begin the surgery right now. And then Arjuna said, what about anesthesia? He said, Bhagavad Gita will be the anesthesia. So that is the understanding of, tolerance, that there is a need for tolerance and there is a need to fight at the appropriate moment. So the entire Gita is speaking so many shlokas on tolerance, but the conclusion of Gita, Krishna is saying, now kill. So therefore, the knife is neutral, just like the gun is neutral, whether it is in the hands of the terrorist or the law enforcer. That is what makes the difference. So therefore, tolerance and intolerance, even in war, even in battle, there is attack and there is retreat. So both are part of the same strategy only. So that is the understanding, holistic understanding from scripture. But let us hear the more practical on-field understanding from Sir.
Sir is a former minister and former legislative assembly member, and he also runs a very successful private enterprise here. See the different dimensions of life per se. And I worked with Sir also many years back as an intern when he was contesting in one of the elections, sir. Yes, of course, there is a problem in the current politics, and we all believe there is a solution, but many times we wonder whether the solution will make the problem far worse, sir, in the 5-10 years timeline. Only with time frame we can say whether the solution is better. So I believe, sir, the current India, below 35, below 40, the perspective of life is completely different. Social media generation, they look at life very differently, very fast. And the politics still is very slow, taken for granted, and thinking that people will adjust to who we are as political parties and political representatives. There is a very genuine crisis of leadership, sir. When John F. Kennedy wrote his book in 1956, he named it as Profiles in Courage. That is first book he wrote as a senator. And what he did is he profiled 8 senators in the House of Congress. And very interestingly, he picked all the 8 where they disagreed or deviated from the norm. So he picked 8 people, and he called that as Profile in Courage. For example, there was a very famous character, one among the 8, he picked a person called Robert Taft, a senator from Ohio, because he questioned the Nuremberg trials of Hitler Germany that happened. He was against Hitler, but he questioned, saying, how can you bring certain principles into the trial which is right now not governed by the UN Charter or the League of Nations Charter? He lost his nomination for the Republican Party for the president. So he profiles all these 8 people to say, politicians many a time should stand up to truth, question things that is not right. They should not just sail with the common wisdom of the public, because he felt politicians have a moral duty to rise above the public wisdom and to stand as paragons of virtue. So he named this book as Profiles in Courage. I would believe right now we should have a book called Profiles in Character or Profiles in Integrity, where we all adjust to what is happening there. So none of us dare to speak because there is a repercussion the system will bring on you, the political organization will bring on you. And that also has to change, sir. I think we look at this probably the next 20, 30 years of politics as a place where internal democracy within the political system, and so that you use this whip rule. In Indian Parliament, we have this whip. Once you issue a whip, you go as a member of Parliament, you just see what the party has said, you come out. And again, you go to British parliamentary system, many people disagree with the whip. And they proudly do it. And the party also accepts it as a matter of fact. So this is a small tolerance is there, humility is there, but also same time, the basic character building of a politician or people sitting in high public office, they should speak out and be paragons of virtue above the common wisdom. So right now, everybody wants to sail with the common wisdom. That is where we see a disconnect of this present Gen Z, the youth. They feel disconnected with, because everybody speaks the same language. You see the political language of a country, everybody speaks the same language. Nobody wants to speak a different language. So I think Sir has a point in my personal view, the way he has put it across. And the party should start having even internal party disagreements also. Take it as a virtue. Yes, of course. Tolerance is important. So that
of disagreement is what is the name given to Vibhishana. The word Vibhishana means one who makes Ravan nervous, who becomes very dangerous for Ravan. Why Ravana felt Vibhishana to be very dangerous? Because Vibhishan was the only person Ravana could not forcibly make him agree. With all the power he had, all the wealth he had, Vibhishana would speak up when he wanted to. And that is what Ravana was most afraid of. So the freedom to speak when one is in a certain situation is what Vibhishana represents, just to complete the loop on Ramayana. Thank you.
Hare Krishna Swamiji, and wishing you most and more, sir. I actually have no question to ask, it's an expression. Especially I've been hearing this a couple times from sir and someone who shared earlier also, that the next generation seems to have a disconnect. I can't tell you how grateful I am to be in this room. I used to work in Bombay a few years ago, and thanks to my parents, I've been brought up with these values, and my guru, my Matriya. Every other weekend when I would come down to Chowpatty ISKCON, and I would love to spend my time like that. And I just feel life has such a beautiful providence, right? Today, it happens to be you. I didn't know what I was signing up for when I came for this. It was a satsang. I was just excited to be. To see that this material world and the spiritual world having the spiritual world trying to establish its trust in the material world, because knowing that this is the instrument, and the material world reaching out the spiritual world saying that, oh, you know, this is the math that let's see how it can all come out together. And my Matriya always says that the good deserves to be the best, because from there is so much that we can all do together. To hear your thoughts, sir. Like you said, like there's always this feeling, right? Oh, politics, oh, politicians, they may all be like the same kind. They all say the whole narrative story. So to see you up close, to hear your thoughts, it's been very uplifting. It's been very hopeful. And I truly wish that we see more of this material plus spiritual come to the world, because this is a language we understand. So beautifully, Swamiji has been talking about how Ramayana is actually all of us. How I went to Chinmaya Vidyalaya, so we were taught Bhagavad Gita and we were taught these things, right? So to know that, yeah, in each verse of Bhagavad Gita, there's me. There's no disconnect. Krishna and I are the same. And I think I really wish that this goes to more people, because like Sir was saying, at the end of the day, it's all grassroots. It's us as the future tomorrow, as a 24-year-old, as a Jain who probably doesn't conventionally belong to this room. I feel so part of this, and I'm sure that there are, I know because I have my friends, there's this big world that is so hopeful with this combination of the material and the spirit, and that's about it. Like I said, I don't have a question, it was an expression. Thank you so much.
My name is Rajaram. In fact, at the outset, I would like to deeply thank the organizers for bringing two great minds to deliberate on this important topic, which is very relevant for today's society. In support of our former minister, Mr. Maffai Pandirajan, I would like to say that our religion has taught too much of tolerance for our people. We are too intolerably tolerant. We should change. I think there's a limit for this tolerance level. As rightly pointed out by our great Swamiji, Tamil Nadu is known for temples. We have almost 1.5 lakh important temples. Among them, 30,000 are very big temples. This is a land, it is Anmiga Bhumi, a land of spirituality. But unfortunately, there's a tendency to defame our gods. And people are quite, they tolerate this criticism. Will we tolerate if anybody defame our mother or father? Definitely not. So we should find a way out to counter this negative campaign on our religion and our culture. Thank you.
Swami, there is a moral conundrum that you have to help me out with. So I am a Karyakarta from the same party as my leader, Sri Annamalai. So we've been talking about Ram Raja. But what I fail to understand, in a Western construct of democracy and a constitution heavily borrowed from the Western sources, how are we to put in this, the ethical values of Ram Raja? And who is our Ram? Is it the Prime Minister? Or, as we say in democracy, the people are the bosses. So how is this moral conundrum to be solved? One. Another question is, so as a politician, I am supposed to be ambitious. I'm supposed to be very invigorated about the problems that is happening around me. So there is this conundrum again of my significance and insignificance within the system. How do I weigh in at that part? So I want both of you to help me out there.
Sure. What's your name?
My name is Karthik Gopinath, sir.
Karthik?
Karthik Gopinath.
Okay. So I'll just begin by sharing briefly, and I think you understand his conundrum deeper than me. So I'll say that from Ramayana's perspective, it helps us at three levels. Active spiritual practice in your life as a politician will help you in three ways. First, it will help you create the right perception about who you are, your own identity. Second, it will help you with high-level perspectives when things don't go the way you expect. If there is a skyscraper building 40-story and I'm standing there and I think, oh, it's huge, so huge. Some problems suddenly come up like that. And we feel, how will I ever overcome this? But when you sit in a flight and from 40,000 feet you look down, that building looks like a matchbox. The size of the building has not changed. Your height has not changed. What has changed? Perspective. So spirituality helps you with perception, perspective, and the third principle is peer relations. Because ultimately you realize, I have difference of opinion with them, they have difference of opinion with me, but at the end of the day, we are all souls, and therefore Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. We are ultimately part of a larger family. So therefore, I would say that in the current context, I can only recommend Ram Rajya to be implemented at a personal level, where, as they say, circle of influence and circle of concern. But we can only invest in circle of influence. We can have concern about practically everything on the planet. So the influence which I feel we have fully is over our own lives, our own thoughts. So when you apply the principles of Ramayana and Bhagavad Gita and spirituality in personal lives, then your perception will improve, your perspectives will become manifold, and your peer relations will go to the next level. And therefore, ultimately, all the literatures describe that the solution to agitation due to problems is not that you are able to actually fix the problems, because however many problems you fix, new will come. But how you manage to maintain your consciousness at an uplifted level and not allow the negativity to affect you. And as Sir beautifully mentioned, that it was during his pilgrimage to Kailas Manasarovar, where when he introspected, he got time for oneself. They say, me time, when you go deeper. And then you understand that actually beyond all the upadhis, the external designations, ultimately we have a core human value, and it's a human-to-human connection. So that practice of spirituality and understanding of principles of Ram Rajya keeps you grounded with your own identity. And irrespective of all the events and externals which will happen, which may or may not be within your control, but you will be at peace with yourself. And to be at peace with yourself puts you at the strongest front to deal with conflict outside of yourself. If you are in conflict within yourself, all your attempts to bring peace outside of yourself will ultimately fail. So that is my limited understanding of how much Ram Rajya we can implement today. Over to you, sir.
Karthik Gopinath is a very valued colleague and a YouTuber. He runs a YouTube on a daily basis with more than 1 million subscribers. So he does it on a daily basis, and politics is a calling. He just came now. Swamiji, with all humility, I believe there is an answer in Ramayana itself. The questions that you asked, you used a word called ambitious. As a politician, I'm supposed to be ambitious. Then you also mentioned about Ram Rajya, Western construct of democracy, bringing into a country. When Kambar, when he describes Raman Pattabhisheka, he describes everybody what they are doing, who is holding the sword, who is holding the umbrella, who is holding. But only one character which Kambar intentionally did not describe in the whole Ramar Pattabhisheka is Ramar himself. Every single character he brought in except Rama. He says the throne is kept during Pattabhisheka, but throne is kept on whom? Then the next paragraph he goes one step further and he says, after the Pattabhisheka got over, people felt a heaviness in their head. The people assembled in to see Pattabhisheka. Then people felt the throne is kept on their head. So very beautifully, very evocatively, in Ramayana, Kambar goes one step further to say, the throne, though it is kept on Rama's head, crowned him the king, but every person in the Sabha felt the crown is on their head, the responsibility is on their head. And there I believe there is a inkling he has given that a politician, the ambitious and word politician, I believe, is a severe incongruity in both the words, Swamiji. A businessman is supposed to be ambitious. A newspaper tycoon can be ambitious, sell more product, make more money, serve the society. But for politician, when you say what ambitious means, is it more power? Because power itself, when you quantify, more power to serve more people, or is it power to serve more people, or is only power to serve people? So a politician, when he chooses, or a public servant, when he chooses to step into that where he's supposed to handle the public finance, take taxpayers' money and give it back to them, in that responsibility, Swamiji, I believe ambition should have a different connotation, where it's a sense of detachment. Moment you say that there is a sense of detachment means you accept failure and success both as the same coin. You see both as an event. You see election winning and losing both. Again, Winston Churchill. After a great war, approval rating at 78%. After the war, he lost the election. But we can keep cycles after cycles in Indian politician, great politician. Look at their final career. They all ended with a defeat, Swamiji. I can name a lot of politicians from top to bottom, at their power, so top. But when they died, the greatest of Indian politicians, greatest of world politicians, when they died, how did they die? Everything is stripped out, power is stripped out. The circle of life brought them back to earth. made them as a normal, humble human being, then they died. I think if we have the humility to appreciate and understand that we also eventually are going to do that, even your counselor or a prime minister or a president, whatever positions people might serve, then we start looking at this ambition very differently, Swamiji. So for me, politician, when they use ambition, it is to slightly detach. There is an opportunity that has come to serve, do it, and moment you find a way, exit, come out, live your normal lives. Don't treat this as a fundamental life calling, where you want to continuously be in that position for 50 years, 60 years, is something which I don't believe and I don't appreciate that, Swamiji. So, if you have this kind of a quality, because a politician should have a family, should have a society, should have multiple things to serve. And having everything and to say, I will sit in power for 50 years, 40 years, 65 years, 90 years, then you're not just doing justice to other roles of you being a human being. I think if Karthik, my friend, it's very bold of him to ask this question, but for me, is a more important person in terms of maintaining his fitness. He can inspire a lot of people by the way he presents himself. He runs a YouTube daily where he educates a lot of people what he's doing, and also he does politics. But if he puts politics before all three, then eventually both of us will get into a problem, is my viewpoint. So much.
Before I fulfill my pleasant duty of proposing a vote of thanks, I request a standing ovation for this fantastic session that we have had. Usually when we call a moderator for an event, is basically the speaker and the moderator is trying to guide the conversation, but here the roles were reversed. We saw two truly interactive sessions. It was an interaction and not just a one-way traffic of one speaker and one moderator. So I really thank both of you. It was a wonderful interactive session, brought new perspectives to all of us, and also gave us a lot of hope on what the future holds, what the youth of today thinks of and how they act is something, we are hopeful now. Thank you so much, Swamiji, for gracing us, and we hope that we find more occasions to have interactive sessions with you. And Srimad Namalai, thanks for coming and really enlivening this whole event. Thank you very much. And thanks to all of you for making this event a grand success. Thank you. I would also like to announce that this event has been carried live by Shankara TV and also Janam.